History is filled with rulers whose reigns struck fear into the hearts of their people. But some took cruelty and terror to unimaginable extremes. From massacres that left entire cities in ruins to tyrants who ruled through sheer brutality, these leaders reshaped the world with their blood-soaked legacies. In this journey, we will uncover the terrifying stories of ancient history's most evil rulers, men whose names are forever linked with horror. Their reigns were ruthless, their actions unforgivable, and their stories chillingly unforgettable. Caligula, Rome's mad emperor. Caligula, born Gaius Julius Caesar Augustus Germanicus in 12 CE, is etched in history as one of Rome's most notorious rulers. His reign from 37 to 41 CE began with high hopes, as he pardoned prisoners, ended oppressive trials, and showered the public with games and festivals. However, this promising start quickly unraveled, revealing a ruler consumed by cruelty, depravity, and unchecked power. Caligula's descent into madness was marked by his declaration of divinity. He demanded to be worshipped as a living god, ordering statues of himself placed in temples including the sacred Jewish temple in Jerusalem, an act that nearly provoked a rebellion. His disdain for the Senate knew no bounds. He publicly humiliated senators, forcing them to grovel before him and endure indignities. Worse, he abused their wives, seizing them during banquets for his personal gratification and then boasting about his exploits to their faces, leaving them powerless and humiliated. Financial recklessness defined his rule. Caligula squandered the state treasury on extravagant games, palaces, and banquets. When funds ran low, he resorted to seizing the estates of Rome's elite, executing the owners under false charges to justify his theft. His most infamous act of absurdity was lavishing wealth on his horse Incitatus, building it a marble stable, and allegedly planning to make it a consul, mocking the very essence of Roman governance. As paranoia consumed Caligula, he turned against allies and enemies alike, executing anyone he believed threatened his power. By 41 CE, his unstable behavior had isolated him from senators, the Praetorian Guard, and even his closest advisors. A conspiracy formed, and Caligula was assassinated, ending a reign remembered as a warning of how absolute power can fuel madness. Nero Claudius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, who ruled from 54 to 68 CE, became infamous for cruelty and self-indulgence. His early promise quickly collapsed into tyranny. His most notorious moment came during the Great Fire of Rome in 64 CE, which destroyed large parts of the city. Some ancient sources claimed Nero started the fire to make space for his grand domus aurea. Reports described him watching the flames while playing his lyre, indifferent to suffering. To shift blame, Nero targeted Christians, subjecting them to horrific executions including crucifixions, dog attacks, and being burned alive as human torches to light his gardens. Nero also turned against his own family. He orchestrated the murder of his mother Agrippina, executed his wife Octavia on false charges, and killed his pregnant mistress Poppaea in a fit of rage. Obsessed with performing arts, he forced Rome's elite to attend his shows, treating early departures as treason. His reckless spending drained the treasury, fueling riots and revolts. When the Senate declared him a public enemy, Nero committed suicide in 68 CE. Vlad III, known as Vlad the Impaler or Dracula, ruled Wallachia in the 15th century, and became legendary for extreme brutality. His signature punishment was impalement, where victims were slowly pierced on a stake and left to die in agony. Tens of thousands suffered this fate, with forests of impaled bodies displayed along roads as warnings. Vlad also used boiling, burning, and mutilation against prisoners, including Ottoman captives, and showed no mercy to women or children. His reign created an atmosphere of terror and later inspired the Dracula myth. Ivan IV, or Ivan the Terrible, ruled Russia from 1547 to 1584. After the death of his wife Anastasia, he launched violent purges through his oprichnina. His bloodiest act was the 1570 massacre of Novgorod, where thousands were drowned, burned, or executed. Ivan destroyed entire towns, killed rivals, and even murdered his own son, leaving behind one of Europe's darkest legacies. Despite being defeated, Attila's brutality persisted. His armies then swept through Italy, devastating cities like Aquileia before retreating, reportedly after meeting Pope Leo I. Legend has it that Leo's plea for mercy caused Attila to turn back, though some historians believe other factors may have influenced this decision. Even after his death in 453 CE, Attila's terrifying legacy endured. His name became synonymous with destruction. Attila's reign, though short-lived, left an indelible mark on history as a symbol of fear, savagery, and military genius. Genghis Khan's ruthless conquests. Genghis Khan, born Temujin in 1162, stands as one of the most formidable and feared conquerors in history. He united the Mongol tribes and forged the largest contiguous empire the world has ever seen. Known for his tactical brilliance and ruthless approach, Genghis Khan's conquests were marked by brutal efficiency and overwhelming force. What made Genghis Khan so terrifying wasn't just his ability to win battles, it was his cruelty and the abuse of power he wielded over his enemies. Cities that resisted Mongol forces were typically destroyed with shocking efficiency. The Khwarezmian Empire is one of the most notable examples, where Genghis Khan's forces massacred nearly an entire population after the governor executed Mongol trade envoys. This act of revenge resulted in entire cities being burned, their residents slaughtered, and survivors enslaved. The siege of Nishapur, one of the most brutal moments of Genghis Khan's reign, saw more than 1,747,000 people killed according to the Iranian historian Rashid al-Din. One of the darkest aspects of Genghis Khan's rule was his systematic abuse of power, especially towards women. As part of his conquest strategy, Genghis Khan's soldiers would often take women as spoils of war. It is estimated that thousands of women were captured, abused, and forced into slavery or marriage. In some cases, Genghis Khan himself would take the wives or daughters of conquered leaders as his own, consolidating power and reinforcing his dominance. Tamerlane's Pyramid of Skulls. Tamerlane, or Timur the Lame, was a 14th-century conqueror whose reign was marked by immense brutality and ruthless conquests. Known for his military genius, Tamerlane built an empire stretching from Central Asia to the Middle East, leaving behind a trail of destruction. His campaigns were often characterized by horrifying cruelty, and one of the most chilling examples of his brutality was the creation of pyramids made of human skulls. In 1398, after his conquest of Delhi, Tamerlane ordered the massacre of over 100,000 inhabitants. As a symbol of his victory and to strike fear into any future resistance, he had the skulls of his victims piled high to form a pyramid in the city. This gruesome display of power was a direct message to all who dared oppose him. Throughout his campaigns, Tamerlane employed terror as a weapon. Cities that resisted were often completely destroyed, and their populations slaughtered. The fear he instilled in his victims often forced cities to surrender without a fight. Tamerlane's cruelty was not limited to his enemies. He also enslaved large numbers of people, many of whom were sent to work in his army or serve his empire. His legacy is one of both military brilliance and extreme brutality. The brutal legacies of these tyrants remind us of the darkest corners of human history, where power was wielded with merciless force. Their reigns of terror reshaped empires, instilled fear, and left scars that lasted for centuries. But what can we learn from their actions? Is it a warning of what unchecked power can do, or a reminder of the resilience of those who survive under such rulers? Share your thoughts below. What part of their reigns shocked you the most? If you found this journey through history fascinating, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss our next exploration into the stories that shaped the world.